Hello, and welcome to Dream Cinema. For the past 5 years, the Step Jayne album Silver Bullet Suicide has been released one track at a time with an accompanying video. For the next 10 months in Dream Cinema, I will be exploring each track and video with a co-host. This month, I will be discussing the Step Jayne video Silver Bullet Suicide with percussionist and musician Christopher Grier, who is also a student of African rhythms, percussion, as well as an overall student of consciousness and mindfulness. We invite you to watch the Step Jayne music video for Silver Bullet Suicide prior to joining us for this conversation. Thanks, and we look forward to seeing you there.
You got a remote to test it?
No, we're rolling.
Oh, okay. How come you don't have a remote to test? That's high-tech stuff, man.
Yeah.
Press button, bam, right here for
Well,
the
that
remote.
would be nice, wouldn't it?
You should have one. You didn't spend enough money on your camera.
Cheers.
Bless you.
Christopher
Cheers.
Grier, welcome to Dream Cinema.
Yeah, well, thank you.
This is the first live taping of Dream Cinema because 2020 was obviously a COVID year, so we tried to do it all on Zoom. In fact, we did more than try, we did it on Zoom. So, you are a percussionist, you're a musician, you have studied African music and African rhythms, as well as all kinds of different forms of music. You've collected an array of instruments.
I have.
And you've also collected a repertoire of tools to use in, how can I say this, increasing your mindfulness or your level of consciousness. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's a big. We could start there.
Let's jump right in, shall we?
Sure.
Let's talk about Silver Bullet Suicide. We'll start there and we'll see where it goes.
What were you trying to accomplish as an artist when you did that video?
Mm-hmm.
Because the reason I'm asking that because I saw black and white, no color.
I put some filters on. I desaturated some of it, but then I added more color in other ways,
Yeah.
and kind of made it more almost animated.
It was almost like you're doing a painting.
Well, it's interesting that you say it was like a painting because this year, doing 5 Doors and releasing music, cinema, art, which has primarily been oil paintings, and a ritual, and writing. All of these things have informed each other, I've noticed,
Right.
in ways I didn't expect.
Right.
But I've been consistently releasing a new song, a new painting,
Right.
every month on the 1st.
Oh, okay.
And it's been fascinating to see how painting has influenced music, and maybe even vice versa in ways I can't yet know.
Yeah.
I haven't come to yet.
Yeah.
But I have noticed for sure that when I'm thinking about a painting and layering and texture, it transfers over to the songwriting.
Right. Right.
But I honestly, when I started creating this video, I wanted to create its own little space to inhabit, which is how it is for everyone, every video. But the color palette seemed to help with this, to transform it from what was sort of a mundane atmosphere into hopefully another world in which these characters live and inhabit. The person with the rifle, the musicians,
Right.
the character that I inhabit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I don't know if I consciously chose to go with black and white, but I was in the editing process and I decided to start playing, painting, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start to play and paint, things happen.
Right.
It takes on a whole new life.
Yeah.
You write the song, you write the script for the play, at least I do. I script it all out with a full outline. And then you get it in the box to edit, and then it becomes something else.
Yeah, right.
Sometimes you didn't expect it.
Right.
But you flip it, you invert it,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden, whoa, this is a whole kind of almost darker world. And it's Silver Bullet Suicide. It's an intense work that's going on there.
Where did it come from? What created that storyline? You know?
Yeah. Well, the Silver Bullet, the lore of storytelling about werewolves, is that you kill a werewolf with a silver bullet.
Right.
You put a silver bullet through its heart.
Okay. Yeah.
And so this album, as I moved along, I noticed it had all kinds of animals in it.
Okay.
And even in the videos, and then even some of the songs, I have some sounds like there's a song called "The Sheep Are Safely Gathered In."
Okay.
And there are wolves throughout that.
Okay.
So wolves are kind of thematic through the whole album.
Okay.
And also, it felt like I was really pushing at examining things in myself that I no longer wanted.
Okay.
I no longer wanted these things.
Okay.
And the birth of a song is, it's hard to describe, as you probably know, when you're coming up with a new drum rhythm. You're coming up with on your Karma Lagoni.
Right.
You're coming up with your new sounds.
Right.
Where does that come from?
Yeah.
There's sort of an idea.
Yeah.
And then it just keeps bubbling.
Yeah.
But that was primarily what I was thinking about, was like transformation, death.
Yeah.
I mean, my father died in 2015. I think that was kind of also in there too.
Okay.
It's been heavy in there for several years.
Okay. The silver bullet of death that you wanted to pierce through whatever the past is, to experience something new.
Or the future. Because sometimes I feel addicted to the future more than the past.
Okay.
In fact, I can usually let go of the past pretty easily.
Okay. All right.
My addiction has been to the future. Most people regret shit. I really don't too much.
Okay.
It's more like, what's happening next?
Yeah.
What's happening next?
Okay.
And that would be the bullet that I would want to kill that with. But
but see, that's the thing. Silver bullet. Silver bullet was a very strong symbolism of something that was going to bring something new.
Suicide.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Silver bullet, something new, is going to bring something new into your consciousness that you didn't have experienced before.
Yeah. Well, you asked me at the beginning of this whole question, what did you feel or what did you want to feel? I think that's what you said. And it's interesting that you say that, because the first line is, I want to feel you.
Right.
Fill me.
Right.
F-I-L-L.
Right.
I want to feel you, fill me.
Right. Okay.
So all my songs are prayers.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that's what they are.
Yeah.
And I don't always know exactly who I'm or what kind of entity I'm praying to. I don't know if I'm having a deep conversation with myself or with some god, a god.
Yeah.
I stuttered when I say God. I always stutter when I say that word because it's so heavy. It's so full of meaning, and a lot of meaning that I don't want. So I try to come up with other words for that entity. Sometimes Great Spirit, sometimes Source. None of them really feel right to me. No word trying to describe the Great Mystery ever feels right, but you need to communicate with people and yourself.
Right. Okay.
So I want to feel you, fill me. It could also be, humans help us bring about consciousness. Relationships help us bring about consciousness. A balance to it, because I say, I want to feel you, feel me, blow my mind, don't want no cookie cutter suicide. That silver bullet will bring you back to life. So pull the trigger, sister, blow my mind, I use the word sister, and I think because all the relationships I've had, intimate relationships, have, they have helped me grow more than maybe just about anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they have been most intimately with women, probably. Especially when you add a physical component to the relationship, it kind of seems to elevate the relationship to a place where other things begin to happen to you.
Yeah.
And work on that matter below.
Yeah.
That's kind of down there.
Right. So the sister, you included as the person who can support you in raising your consciousness. Because the past has been the experience that has been manipulating and controlling our lives up this point. And in order for us to have a new experience of life, give me a silver bullet. You know, kill a lot.
Well, the reason I went so dramatic on it was because it feels like when we've developed patterns in our lives, humans are prone to addictions. Some people are addicted to alcohol. Some people have no problem with alcohol. Some people are addicted to drugs. Some people are addicted to sex. Some people are addicted to their thoughts, certain emotions, anger.
Right.
And to overcome that is a serious effort. It's a
yeah, it is.
It's like a
it is.
You know, it's
you might. It's easier to be training for the Olympics.
In some ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and how do you do that? You sometimes need the intensity of a silver bullet, and that's why these guns show up throughout.
Right.
You know, guns in certain circles are not very popular. In other circles, they're super popular. And so I probably took some heat with some people that like my music because of the imagery of guns.
Right.
But I mean, I wanted to use that intensity because that's what I was feeling. I was like, I need to really, if I'm going to change some things in myself, I need to kind of go hard at it for a minute. Sometimes life gives you that opportunity, whether you like it or not. It puts the gun right in your hand.
Right.
What are you going to do?
Right.
And are you going to kill off that part of yourself, or are you going to go keep shooting other people, pointing out at all of the other people that you want to sort of quote unquote slay?
Yeah. Silver bullet, suicide. That sounds so violent.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. It is.
But
it does sound so.
Yeah, and so but the violence is about being rigorous in the shift.
Yes.
And the change.
Yes. Being rigorous. Yes. Yeah. Rigorous.
Yeah.
It's a great word.
Yeah.
Because you see, we're killing ourselves.
Yeah.
In many ways throughout our lives by maintaining certain habits of mind.
Yeah.
And we, it can be a soft death.
Yes.
For instance, let's take something that's easy to observe. Diet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Like, we can eat certain kinds of food for years, and they aren't giving us the potential to be healthy.
Right.
They're taking away from our thought ability to think clearly. They're taking away from our bodies to be able to move smoothly and function properly. But for years we'll kind of eat unhealthy in unhealthy ways. And it's a soft death.
Yeah.
Like a slice of pizza is damn good.
Yeah.
So is a soft serve.
Right.
Or even, some sort of creme de la creme. Like, it's so in order to shift that, it's something has to wake us up. Sometimes.
Yeah.
And sometimes for some people it's cancer.
Yeah.
For some people it's an accident.
Yeah.
For my dad, it was almost like it was cancer. Shifted his whole sense of who he was. He almost died.
Yeah.
You see that happen to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Near-death experiences sometimes shift people. Other times you come to some realization and it's almost like grace brings it to you. And it seems painful at the time. But it's the gift.
Right.
It's a gift, and sometimes you can turn it on yourself.
Yeah,
You can turn that gun on yourself, and you can point it right like in the video.
Right.
The character keeps pointing the gun to his chest, to his head, to his mouth.
Right.
Some of my friends can't watch it because it's too much, and I get it.
It's intrusive. It's an intrusive conversation to have. You have to be willing to get through the visual to get the message.
Yeah.
the message is way more valuable than the visual.
Yeah.
Because the visual will hook you into what we already have known ourselves to experience in the past.
Yeah.
It's what we already have. No, we can't deal with.
Yeah. And I've found that sometimes the more intelligent people are, the more prone they are to self-deception, because they can think their way right into it. There's the lack of humility. I've seen that so many times with people in my life that, you know, are intelligent. You know, it's like you then can fool yourself. You spin a little web, and you think you're making some advantage to yourself by either manipulating other people or convincing yourself that this is what is good for you. But really, in the end, it's going to kill you. It's the killer. It's the slow death. It doesn't allow consciousness to rise.
Yeah.
Now, to even talk about consciousness in this way, as if I know what I'm talking about, is a bit arrogant, and I hesitate in some ways to even say anything about it other than I'm trying. I'm just trying.
Yeah.
I'm trying to take away the parts of myself, slough off the old skin like the rattlesnakes do, and kill the killer. Wake up, kill the killer.
Right.
Wake up, kill the killer.
Right. I get it.
And that seems to be like a worthy lifetime goal. You know, there's lots of goals people set for themselves, for business, for love, for all these things.
Right.
And for me, for some reason, I've been fascinated with the ever ephemeral consciousness.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes I almost feel like the older I get, the more I talk about it, even though we're talking about it now, the more I feel like it almost in some ways, I don't know if it diminishes it or if it allows it to be more present by talking about it. You know?
What do you think?
When I wrote this song, I wrote this song 5 or 6 years ago, and then I did the video like 2 years ago.
Okay.
And so it's kind of like at a place I was, go at it hard. Now I'm at a place where I'm kind of like, shut the fuck up to myself. Yeah.
Right.
Like, okay, you've done enough talking, you've done enough thinking about all of this consciousness that nobody can define.
Right.
Shut up.
Well, what I found is, it's an ongoing evolution and practice. You have to. I found that I have to be willing, because this particular conversation we're having right now, it's like peeling the layers off an onion. Mm-hmm. You always find another layer. Mm-hmm. You doesn't matter how many layers you pull off, there's always another one. When you see your particular work, whether it's music, whether it's video, whether it's on a canvas, the question is, what is he saying? What is he trying to say? What is it? What is it that he's? What got him in a frame of mind to put that on the canvas, or to write that song, or to shoot that video? And it's for some people, for me, it stimulates my thinking, and I look at it at first. It's abstract,
right?
And that's the whole point. Great art makes you think. Abstract painting, abstract work makes you think of the unusual.
Well, I mean, to me, that's why art interests me. It's really a vehicle to just explore things.
Yeah,
that's really what it kind of is. I love getting good at technique, because then I think the message can become more interesting. I hope. But then, you know, you move in and out of forms, and sometimes there's wabi-sabi where that's that thing where it's just not perfect.
Right.
But in its imperfection is perfect. And I like that more about art, more about my music and the art too.
Right.
Things falling apart a little bit within a painting.
Yeah.
Or leaving things a little disjointed.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't, you know, you don't always know what you're trying to get at, even with this song in this video. You know, because the areas that I'm fascinated with, human consciousness, mindfulness, some people call it mindfulness, because it's really, to me, as soon as you say what it is it is something that it shouldn't be, you know. The great teachings and the great teachers were very cautious around these things. Right. You know. Yeah. Poetry gets a little bit closer. You know. Paintings, maybe these songs. Yeah. That's why I feel so. Why I use this form. It's a way to get intimate with this content that I'm fascinated with, that I don't even know exists in a certain way. I believe it, but I'm going on faith, or I'm going on knowing. Right. I'm going on a sense of knowing, because I actually do have some sort of, I guess, faith in this, in the existence of consciousness or source or whatever. It's just, if I try to nail it down, it feels like it loses something. It feels like it loses something. Some people say we all have a death wish, you know. Yeah. Whether or not that's true, I don't know. Sometimes I wonder, I get this feeling like, well, I'm kind of slogging through this until it's over. Certain days feel like that. Okay. Certain days feel like that. And then most of the days there's curiosity. But at this point in my life, I'm going through this phase where the things that were interesting to me before are losing interest. Mm-hmm. And so that's when you've killed off. I think there's a point when you've killed off the old things. Mm-hmm. You've committed the suicide in a sense, and you've slayed these parts of yourself you don't like. But there's nothing to take the spot of that thing that was in the room. Yeah, I get it. Mm-hmm. And so you feel a little lost. Yeah. Maybe you feel a little almost like uninterested. Okay. And you before you kind of like find the new thing, perhaps. Okay. And maybe you just need to sit in that emptiness for a while and be with death. Mm-hmm. Be with that death in who you are. Mm-hmm. Let it do its thing. Yeah. You can't force yourself out of that room into, I'm going to be interested in this. Right. For me, it doesn't really work that way.
No, well, I don't know, but it does work for that way either. Yeah. You know, so you have to let it take its course. Mm-hmm. You know, and allow space for it, and allow it to move through you or move in time. You know, and
sometimes travel helps with that. I've noticed. Yeah. You go over to Berlin, you go to Iceland, you go to South America, and your brain gets kind of rewired because of everything. You're put in this new environment, and it's just, you have to make all these adjustments. You're forced to make all these adjustments. Yeah. You know,
where we lost as beings, we're lost in the fact that we think we're separate, and we're not. I heard that blew my mind. Sister was, you included her as a part of you. Yeah. Blow my mind. Help me get to the next level. Yeah. To knowing more of myself that I didn't know before. Mm-hmm. Blow my mind. Yeah.
Yeah. There could be a sister inside me that is also what I want to bring about. Right. And more of a feminine thing that can help me change within myself. Right. Maybe giving enough attention to a masculine side, it's time to give something in your feminine side a chance to come up and blow your mind. Absolutely. And see the world in a whole different way. Which makes me think of grace for some reason. Because sometimes the masculine is pushing through really hard. Yeah. And there's almost like this state of grace that can also bring about change. But I put it in the context of a violence, pull the trigger, blow my mind. But you can look at it also as consciousness can happen in a flash of an eye, I think. Right. There are moments sometimes people have where your mind is blown, and I've had those moments, and usually they need to be followed up with some sort of consistent practice in order to, because we're being hypnotized all the time.
Yeah, big time.
All the time, everybody's telling us what the nature of reality is. They're basically telling it all. You go down the line, movies, billboards that are around us, the things our parents are teaching us, everything. Everybody's telling us what the nature of reality is, and a lot of people are convinced that they've done their research. I've heard that line I don't know how many times during COVID. I've done my research. Yeah. Just do your research, man. I've heard it from left, from right, and everywhere in between. They're all doing the research, and a lot of them are very intelligent people that I've spoken with who've done their research. Right. So, there's some bias going on there within human nature. Right. And most people have already decided what they believe, and then they go do research, and they support it.
Yeah, they justify it.
And then some people say, well, but I came to this. I was the other way. Maybe, maybe you were. I mean, but for consciousness, the thing that I'm interested in right now is programming. Within the framework of our society and our culture, we're working with computers all the time, so we call it programming. So we think of our mind as a computer. So I'm working with the mystics right now and sort of reprogramming my mind by listening to them every day. Christian mystics, Buddhist mystics, Islamic mystics, non-religious mystics. This woman reads them. It was for the ritual for June, which is, and so I put it in my earbuds. I go for a walk in nature. It goes for about a half an hour and an hour, and I did that every day for a month, and I was listening for a long time. And to me, that's also another way to blow your mind. It's not as sudden. Right. But all of a sudden, 6 months down the line, you start to notice things. Right. You start to notice things that are subtly changing in your anger, or your lust, or your fear. And it's amazing in a way. It's amazing, but in a way, it's so obvious. It's so obvious that what you put in is what's going to be there. Right. So think about what most people are putting in their minds. Bullshit. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Like Facebook rants. Yeah. Get this, get that. Right. We live in an uber consumerist society, and to get off that track is not easy, whether you're rich or poor. Oh, yeah. I mean, some people are in Beverly Hills shopping, some people are in Walmart shopping, but they're all shopping for bullshit they don't need most of the time. You know what I mean?
Listen, I got 2 stories to prove that, okay? I don't even want to talk about it, okay?
I ain't trying to jump on.
Let's change the subject.
Well, okay.
I'm guilty of it.
Look, I obsess over RVs. I obsess, and lately, I've come to the point where I'm like, get it when you need it, JD. Get it when you need it. Like, okay, I don't need an RV right now. Right. So when I need it, I get it. I don't need I don't need to store up a bunch of nuts like a squirrel for winter. Right. Okay, I'm okay. Right. And you can think about that about everything. That we take in. Like people do that with love a lot of the time. Yeah. I need to have a partner, and it's amazing how many friends bring that up. Like especially if you're single. Where you gonna find somebody? I don't know. Like when I do, or when that person finds me. Right. Like as if you're half of a soul or something. Exactly. Because you're not with somebody. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Is everybody looking to be fulfilled through some other person? Then is that what's going on? Are you thinking that like I'm gonna get all my goodies as long as I got some romance going on? Right. And then you get into romance, and then what?
Yeah. Then what?
Then what?
That's.
Then what? It ain't sweet petals and candy every day and roses.
In fact, there is no manual. There's nothing written to say how it's supposed to go. In fact, that's the misconception about marriage anyway. Marriage, you have so-called social rules, which suck. But when two people are in a committed marriage, there's no golden, there's no anything written. The only thing we have is the freedom to be ourselves. Mm-hmm. In my view, it's freedom to be yourself. Now, cannot allow you to be you. Mm. That's all it's about in marriage. Cannot allow you to be you.
Mm. Over and over.
Yeah. And in the midst of allowing you to be you, do I choose you? Mm. Each and every day, each and every moment. Do I choose you? Mm-hmm. The things that I've happened to notice about inside of any relationship, especially marriages, is the communication factor. Mm-hmm. Miscommunication and the misconnections that we have. Mm. You know, misunderstanding about connections.
Everybody's trying to get theirs.
Yeah, everybody's trying to.
We're all trying to get ours.
You're supposed to understand me. No, you're supposed to understand me. You know.
Yeah.
And
you see very few relationships work on what seems like a beautiful level. And at least in my observation.
Right. No, that's.
I don't know because you're not on the inside tracking it all.
Right. No, yeah, absolutely.
But, you know, I think my parents had a pretty good relationship, which seemed like from the outside.
Yeah.
Which is probably rare.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I never saw them discuss things much, mm-hmm. or argue. Mm-hmm. So consequently, I didn't necessarily learn from example from my parents how to navigate that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And nobody teaches you that much in school.
No.
Either.
No, that's not.
I don't know how we got on this from Silver Bullet Suicide.
Well, no, but actually, it's all related. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, when you talk about Silver Bullet Suicide, we're still talking about killing off the past.
Well,
and having a new experience with whatever you're related to.
Well, pull the trigger, sister.
Right, pull the trigger.
That's somebody else.
Yeah, right.
So maybe some people only say in a relationship is when we only really know who we are.
Right.
Through relationship.
Yeah, right.
So maybe
pulling the trigger now happens more frequently inside of relationships. You know, when you're in a relationship, because you have to always be willing to give up something.
Something's coming to me now about what I may have been talking about. Even the trigger. People talk about what are your triggers?
Right.
Pull the trigger, sister.
Right.
So I'm asking my partner. Let's say, go ahead. This is what really gets to me.
You're right.
Do it anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah, right.
Now, of course, there's a place where that gets too unhealthy.
Right.
If somebody keeps
pulling
that trigger over and over, and they don't have it. But there are some things that drive in a relationship that you're never the same. You're never the same again. Actually, you change fundamentally.
Right.
Through a relationship, powerful, strong relationship.
Well, you evolve. You somehow or another.
Even if you have to separate yourself from that unhealthy situation, it still puts you in a place where you have the chance to elevate.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, I hesitate to use that word elevate sometimes.
Oh, I use evolve.
Okay, even the word. Yeah. I mean, you hope there is some sort of evolution, but it's interesting. Like, you know, you evolve a little bit.
Yeah.
The only thing I wanted to go into a little bit was, you know, literal suicide a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to just say that a close friend of mine committed suicide when he was 27. And, you know, I'm sensitive to that, to those people that have either had suicidal ideation themselves or know somebody who committed suicide. They watch this video and it brings back all that stuff. I want to just recognize that for those people that watch this, that I do understand the pain of that, and I'm not trying to take it lightly, because I've had dark thoughts, you know, and like I've had to deal with some depression and things like that, like everybody does, and sometimes it's heavy.
Yeah.
Sometimes there are days where you don't want to get up and get out of the room.
Right.
So what do you do then?
Yeah.
You know, how do you change that and elevate out of that?
Right.
It's very tricky to tell anybody how to do that part of it. So I'm mostly using suicide in this song as like, you know, a metaphor for getting rid of, killing that part of you that no longer needs to be there. But literal suicidal ideation and darkness, that just depression that surrounds people for decades, their whole life.
Right.
I mostly what I have around that is questions.
Well, I actually have a question.
Mm-hmm.
And let's talk about your friend.
Mm-hmm.
You probably don't know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, what do you think your friend who actually committed suicide, what was their state of mind, and what were their emotional state at that point?
I haven't spoken with him for a while, and so, you know, we used to hike together, and we'd hang out. I always admired him in a way for his freedom, at least what appeared to be on the outside,
right.
Freedom.
Right.
As the years went on, it occurred to me that maybe he wasn't as free as I thought he was. Mm-hmm. That's the thing that is interesting about life. Sometimes people that are pushing the envelope and doing all these things, they look so free and liberated as they're soaring through the air from 100 feet up towards the water.
Right.
And then you realize that at some point there's something else going on.
Right.
And one of my questions about suicide is substance, substance abuse.
Okay.
And I've seen several people. There's a friend of mine right now, her son is spiraling and goes on these binges of alcohol and just hits it so hard that there's no way that they end up in the ER. And this has happened multiple times. And so I don't know how somebody can kill off that part of themselves that is so dark and elevate to get out of substance abuse, because you're doing it to numb yourself. Yeah. You know, and you're doing it to numb something that is very, very painful in you usually. Anger, loss, abuse, all of these things. Right. And, you know, sometimes people don't want to surrender the last step. Mm-hmm. Like in AA, they say, you give it to a higher power. You surrender to a higher power. Some people don't believe in a higher power, so it's really hard for them to want to surrender to something they don't believe in. Right. In fact, they resist it. Right. And but I don't think substances help anybody for the most part. You know, it's a temporary fix, from all I can tell, at least in the things I've gone through. You know, and what I've seen other people go through, it seems like it's a temporary fix. It doesn't solve the deeper issue that maybe can never be solved in some people if it's chemical.
Well, absolutely. Substance abuse definitely is not the answer. In fact, you might as well be smoking cigarettes, for that matter. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because, you know, it's a slow death. You know, or a fast one, depending on what your drug of choice. Mm-hmm. But
even enlightened people, so quote unquote, one of my favorite guys, Alan Watts, drank himself to death. This guy had all kinds of amazing things to say, you know. And I went to the cabin. A friend of mine was doing a documentary on right where he drank himself to death, you know. And you're like, this guy had all this wisdom and still drank himself to death?
Did he express what it was? But there had to be something. In my view, and what I'm learning about myself, and relating, in relationship, myself to others and my environment, is you have to want to do that to yourself, thinking that there is
no way out.
Well,
if you're drinking yourself to death.
Well, it's more like it's either no way out or you're trying to get somewhere, and you're trying to get there as quick as possible.
To death.
Right.
To the next step.
To evolve, to get yourself, or to evolve or cause evolution of yourself, the experience of yourself on another level. So the only way you can do, another ways of looking at it is that person who did that, who has all this wisdom, you know, a spiritual kind of guy, was probably using his body as a lab, an experiment. I want to get to the non-physical realm. So how did I get there? I kill myself. That's how I kill myself. I kill myself to get to the non-physical realm, to experience the next heightened experience of myself.
Assuming that's what he believed in.
But yeah.
I don't even know if he did.
Yeah, well, see, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, is that we probably will never know. But that's just the other spectrum of, between what is not working versus, well, I want to be able to have this other experience, which I don't, you know, the only way I can get there is either abusing myself. When really the David had the experience of living is now. The experience of living is being here now. That's the ultimate. That's the ultimate part of living.
Unless somebody's suffering. Unless somebody's suffering for decades.
Well, yeah. Well,
you know,
yeah,
with their minds and their thoughts.
Right.
You know, and they just want out of the cage of their mind.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of people sometimes, and they're oftentimes very bright, it feels like their mind is a cage to them. That all of that intelligence creates a prison in which they are almost like addicted to thought, because they think that the neurons are firing faster than they are in maybe most people,
right? And
they can't stop the thoughts. But I think there are techniques to stop the thoughts. And the other thing that strikes me as a question about suicide and is humility. You know,
how's that? Say more about that.
Do we when we are seen by others and ourselves as being a teacher or wise or strong or tough, all of these things, and then but inside we're weak. There's a weakness in us, and we don't seek help. Because we're supposed to be the one that knows it all. We got all the answers, or we're so tough that we don't, hell no, I'll get up there and do it myself. You know, I'm not claiming to know anybody's mind or know what Alan Watts' experience was, my friend's experience was. All I can do is sit on the outside and make kind of like guesses about like what they were going through and what other people go through.
Right.
On that chef on top of the world, you know, what's his name? That did the show, the cooking show. Kitchen Confidential.
You mean?
Can't think of his name right now.
Not Gordon, is he?
The guy that killed himself.
Oh, you talking about what's his name?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's all over the world. He was,
Yeah.
He was. Yeah. You talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did he kill himself or?
Yeah. You know, and he supposedly had everything.
Yeah.
And so. I don't know. We're all left wondering when that happens. You know, what exactly pushes? Maybe he was drinking a lot too. See, he was killing it. You know, and that eventually puts you in a place where sometimes then you're not sleeping, you're not thinking rationally anymore. You're only thinking about how horrible it is. I assume, and I've been in that state where when I haven't gotten sleep for a few days, and everything just seems absolutely pointless. Throw on top of that alcohol, throw on top of that a love relationship gone sideways.
I know.
And let's say you've experienced that 10 or 12 times before, a major catastrophe, now you're older.
Right.
Or you're young and you don't know that tomorrow can come and it'd be better.
Yeah.
Anyway, no simple answers for suicide and those that are left behind to kind of try to pick up the pieces and to be left with a lot of guilt. You know, what could I have done? I thought about that with my friend. You know, what should I have reached out to him?
Yeah.
I felt increasingly isolated from him, actually, through the years. I felt more and more of a gap. I felt like there was less of a communication thing, and I was wondering if that happened with him and many other friends. And that ultimately is what left him feeling isolated, alone. So alone.
Yeah.
I mean, when you feel alone, that's when,
that's true.
That's when it feels like it's pointless.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's because I look back on a friend of mine who I felt that who had committed, he killed himself, committed suicide, and through drugs. The use of drugs, and he, because he liked to do cocaine, but I'm not sure it was if that was the thing that gave him his demise. I think that pretty much what you're saying, that I think him being alone was the thing, because he had a different sexual preference than
than you.
Yeah, than me, and I think he, because he couldn't find the partner that he felt that was right for him. There was that type of rejection or feeling of alone, or feeling that he wasn't fulfilled. That he may have had that experience of what's the purpose? Why?
What's the point?
Yeah, what's the point?
Yeah.
And
we bring each other meaning in life, don't we?
Yeah.
Relationships bring us meaning,
absolutely.
maybe more than anything.
Yeah.
And
right.
I sometimes wonder if all the stuff we do, all the art we create, is not just a simple way to say, "Do you love me?"
Yeah. Well,
do you love me?
That's part of it. Yeah.
Like I'm going. You think you're doing all of this stuff. You think you're doing all of this profound consciousness work, and maybe we are. But are we also just saying, "Do you love me? Do you accept me? Do you find me fascinating? Do you find me lovable in some way?"
I think I believe with just those few words you're saying right now are the very words that most people are looking to hear.
Have that answered.
Yeah.
In the affirmative.
Yeah. So, am I accepted? Can you accept me for who I am, or am I, like you said, am I lovable? But you see, all those questions are questions that I'd say that are inside us, that really we have to be willing to those questions, those very questions that have you and me feel separate, are the very same questions. Are the very same questions we have the answers to, that will fulfill us and have us be accepted and fulfilled by. We really don't need anybody else to tell us that we're loved, or we can be, or we are lovable, because we are lovable. Everybody wants love. I say that to feel love yourself. Love yourself. You love yourself completely. What's it like? If you love yourself completely, how would that be like? What would that be like? Think about that. What would that be like?
Yeah.
Would suicide exist? Would suicide literally exist if you loved yourself?
I mean, some people would say that because I love myself, I'm not going to put myself through this pain anymore.
And at the same time,
we're talking deep chemical depression and environmental, let's say, suffering.
But see, depression, I'd say, depression is a conversation. It's a conversation of what we think about ourselves that we're not willing to let go of.
So do you think though that some people have varying levels of depression? Do you think people have varying levels of depression, and like that some of it might be chemical, like to where it's it's just in their DNA?
But see, that's another. See, that's all that. Yeah. See, that's. I would say that's a misconception, because we have the capacity to heal ourselves on every level, and are we willing to let go, to love ourselves and let go of that allows us to heal ourselves? I mean, time after time, during history, people are healing themselves from cancer.
Well, my father decided he was going to live, and what healed him, we're doing a whole documentary film about that.
Yeah.
Asking that question.
Right.
I'm not sure I have a 100% answer on that.
Right.
The only test subject that I really can work with to any degree of accuracy is myself.
Right.
And my chemicals.
Yeah.
And my choices.
Yeah.
I do know that when I drink, the next day I feel down. If I drink a lot, I feel super depressed for maybe a couple days and my energy's down. That's how it affects me. So I can't really drink. I could.
You're right.
But I'm choosing to drink less and less.
Right.
Because it's affecting me more and more. And I don't want the bounce back. I want to be up the next day reading, studying, doing something. I don't want to spend 2 or 3 days depressed. And think about if you compound that.
Right.
And what I'm noticing more and more is how many people drink like crazy. Like,
they advertise it. They advertise it on TV and movies and everything else. They advertise it.
Like, it's no joke though. Like 4 or 5 beers a night, a couple whatever. It's not just a little thing, that people do. It's a major issue that people are numbing.
Right.
That's the way I see it.
Right.
Because when I do it to myself, I feel good.
Right.
And I feel more social.
Right.
I'm not thinking about all the problems. But they come back.
Right.
Obviously. What I'm saying is so cliched. Everybody knows it. But it's funny how those addictions sneak in.
Yeah.
And they get your ass.
Yeah, they do.
They slide right in. I'm not addicted. I mean, straight up, people say I'm not addicted to alcohol. They're on their 5th beer, and they're hitting the rest of it.
Right.
Whatever's left in the fridge.
Right. Right.
And I kind of coming down hard right now on people, but we talk about freedom so much in this country. We talk about my rights, my this and that, and of course, in civil rights movement, that's one thing. when we're talking about people's basic rights to live in liberty and justice.
Right.
But then you've got some people who are like fighting so hard for freedom, but they're drinking a 12-pack every night. And I'm like, who's the slave?
Yeah, I know.
Like you put yourself under the shackles voluntarily.
Right.
Like, you know, and I've done that shit too in different ways.
Yeah.
I'm not above it.
Yeah.
You know, it may not be alcohol for me, but it might be something else.
Right.
And so this is what Silver Bullet Suicide, to bring it around here, is kind of about, is to take the hard look at what your, maybe, let's just frame it in terms of addiction.
Right.
What your addiction is.
Yeah.
Is it going to kill you, or are you going to kill the killer?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you do it with force.
Right.
And you just, some people do hypnosis, they stop
Right.
smoking.
Right.
Some people go to AA, they
Right.
get their shit done. Some people listen to consciousness
Right.
recordings, like I've tried to do every day to try to elevate it. And, you know.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because I used to smoke cigarettes. I was smoking a pack every 2 or 3 days, and then then I decided, well, what made me want to stop? And I'm glad you said that, because what my physical body was telling me was to stop, because after a period of time, after smoking that long, I would get this pain in my shoulder blade, in my back, and it would only happen when I pick up a cigarette, when I would start smoking a cigarette.
Your body was talking to you.
Yeah, so I said, that's it, I'm not doing it anymore. And then I started winging my way off of cigarettes, until finally I just stopped smoking cigarettes.
How many years did you smoke?
Maybe 2 years, maybe 3, maybe maybe longer, maybe 3 or 4 years.
And then your thing was not cold turkey, but to kind of gradually pull yourself off. It was like a half a pack, quarter pack, 2 or 3.
Right.
And that's
exactly.
it.
And whatever method I used to do it, I did that way.
Yeah.
And then the same thing with marijuana. I don't smoke marijuana as much as anymore these days. I mean, I may hit it every now and then, just to maybe.
Why have you stopped smoking weed as much?
Well, I realized I didn't need it. I realized. I mean, it's not to say I don't get the pleasure out of it, but I just realized it's not something that I want to participate anymore into is on a regular basis anymore. So when you know what I do, when you realize that, now you're in control of it, not it being in control of you.
So many people with weed think they got it under their thumb. That's what I noticed.
Yeah.
It's not addictive. Weed ain't addictive. Meanwhile, they're sitting on the couch eating ho-hos and Frito-Lay chips for all day, getting
munchies, the munchies,
right. That's one thing, but to me, it's a tool, like any of this stuff.
Right.
Psychedelic drugs.
Right.
Weed. I don't know about alcohol. I mean, I guess it could be considered a tool in a sense. Perhaps socially, it's fun. I drink sometimes. I do.
But see, alcohol becomes. It's so easy for it to become
turn
abusive.
That corner. Well, but don't you think weed, it's easy to become abusive too?
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, but a lot of people don't think weed is abusive.
No,
because
I agree.
This is a major thing right now.
Yeah.
Because it's all legal everywhere.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so it's so accessible.
Right.
And it's strong as hell.
Yeah.
Like, one toke on that shit, at least for me,
right.
a lightweight, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm floating out there talking to Mary sometime, saying Mary, and it's like...
I took a toke at the memorial. We had a picnic memorial at a park, and one of the guys pulled out a joint, and the guys, we all guys sat around and we were toking off the joint, and I just took one hit. Yeah. And I realized I was done after that hit. I was done. They're passing around. No, I couldn't do no more. But my point is that there's nothing wrong with any of it. I mean, it's just to the extreme how far you take it. And And
who do you? I like how you said, do you want to be the one that's controlling it, or is it controlling you?
Right.
And you could apply that to everything in our life.
Right.
Including spirituality.
Right.
I think.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people become a slave to their religion.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
yeah, absolutely.
and they COVID has been so weird for in so many ways.
Yeah.
Some people have gotten super religious.
Oh, is that right?
Oh yeah, yeah. And there's nothing wrong with getting super religious, unless you get self-righteous along with that. I think
that's correct.
And when the self-righteousness comes along with all of this studying, nobody wants to hang out with your ass.
No, that's
do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
I do.
You can feel the vibe off somebody that thinks they got their shit all squared away and you don't. You know, I'm like, fuck you. Like, you know what? Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah, and they think they can get in your personal life without asking permission. You know, I mean.
Well, yeah. Sometimes it's that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's that. Sometimes it's just this feeling of like, oh yeah, you believe in that, but that you're a couple steps off. Maybe one day you'll come to see the light.
That's freaking right.
That's one of my
right
triggers
there.
right there. When somebody drops that one on me. Well, yeah, when you come back to the fold, you know, or if you do, you're going to be a powerful force for
what you
this
do.
and that.
What you do is you give them the finger.
Well, in my mind, I have.
Yeah, right.
But see, really, what I am interested in when that happens is like, why am I getting pissed?
Oh yeah, yeah.
What in me cannot let that roll right through?
Yeah.
Why am I holding on to this fact that I got to see the light as much as you?
Right.
We can see the light equal.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, if I really got lit and saw the light, I wouldn't get pissed right now.
Right.
So that's my thing, you
Right.
know, amongst the many other things that are trying to like pull the trigger on to, you know, elevate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this video, Silver Bullet Suicide, we just now had several different variety of dialogue of how this can be taken, and our experience of being human.
Yeah, yeah.
Because this is what it's all about.
Yeah.
Of the experience of being human and how it relates to our lives. You know, because you know, Silver Bullet Suicide is actually a relatable conversation when we look at it, when we entertain the idea, entertain the conversation, and actually look at it from a different perspective.
Yeah. And which is hard as hell to do. I mean, to me, you can look at it from a different perspective. The hardest perspective to look at is when you look in the mirror, and it burns your eyes out what you see. That's to me where the change can happen. If you have enough courage, if you have enough grace, maybe, to go look in that mirror and pull the trigger.
Yeah,
and say, okay, I don't want this anymore, and I'm tired of blaming other people. I'm tired of blaming my mother. I'm tired of blaming my friends, blaming my spouse, blaming the kids, blaming whoever. It's time to look in the mirror and realize I'm not as smart as I think I am. For starters, I'm not as strong as I think I am. Shit, help me pull the trigger, sister.
And I tell you that if you ask me, that's a good wrap up. Yeah. Because that's looking in the mirror is really where it's all at. That's because when you look in the mirror, if we were to go into the room or bathroom and look in the mirror, that's one thing. But what's the difference of looking in the mirror or looking at each other? We're mirrors. We're a mirror reflection of each other. So that's
a good point.
That, you know,
because sometimes the faults we find in other people, somebody else is not going to find that same fault in that person. So that's interesting.
Well, and you know also you said earlier, what is it about me that I see in someone else that I can't deal with that's have me upset about?
Right.
So
ask the question.
That's a reflection.
Yeah.
In the mirror.
Yes. Yes.
So
they're reflecting maybe a self-righteousness that I have.
That's right. Exactly.
Take a look at it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
This dude's preaching to me. Oh,
Exactly.
really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You know, I mean, we don't want to go there. I mean, but you know.
Right. Well, it's just, I mean, it's worth. I really feel like we have an opportunity in this lifetime. We have a palette right here to paint on. We are on canvas.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And you know, I watch this artist David Cho sometimes on Instagram, and he'll do a painting. It'll be a beautiful painting, and he'll paint right over it.
Oh wow!
5 or 6 times.
Wow!
Beautiful painting, one after another, and just paint over them.
Wow!
One after another after another. Now I don't know if that's evolution or if that's just shifting consciousness or changing as humans, but we do, I think, have the chance to evolve in some way that feels like it's reaching a higher level of awareness, let's say, if we're willing. That's my belief. That's my faith.
Yeah.
And sometimes it means putting over what we think is amazing about us a whole new painting.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of courage because we spend a lot of time on that painting. You know what I mean?
Yes, it does. It does take a lot of courage.
You're
right.
Well, thank you, Mr.
problem.
G, Chris Grier.
It's been a pleasure having this dialogue interview with you over your prior release video of Silver Bullet suicide.
Mm-hmm.
The conversation has been great. I believe that you, as an artist, you constantly surprise me in terms of your videos and what you're looking to capture, looking to evolve in terms of your work. Mm-hmm. And I mean, one could say, where do you get your inspiration? But I already know where you get your inspiration from. So continue doing doing the work that you're doing. You know, it's you have to continue to have you say, a blank canvas to continue to actually have that revelation of creativity.
Well, thank you for the kind words. Thank you for taking the time to be here. It's just something that some people are must do.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to do.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So thanks again, and we'll continue the conversation in the future, I'm sure.
All right. Well, thanks again. Thanks for having me.
Cheers.
All right.